and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. And I hope that you're all doing very, very well indeed. I hope you've had a fantastic holiday season. I hope you're all getting ready for the new year, and let's hope it's going to be a special one here for Barca and for all of us. So coming up today, we've got a full Barca news roundup. We're going to be looking ahead to that upcoming game against Espanyol, Barca's return. That is going to be so exciting this Saturday. And we also have today some transfer news that we need to get through. You know, several different players here that Barca are being linked to. We're going to be talking about potential incomings, January, the summer transfer window as well. And along with that too, potential outgoings as well. So all of that is on the way. Get yourselves ready. Great to be here on the channel. So let's do it. Because if we do indeed begin then with some of those preparations ahead of Barca's meeting against Espanyol on Saturday, and like I said before, what a way to return there with the derby match. That is an absolutely amazing way to kick off a brand new year. So we're all very, very excited for that. And Barca did return to full training back on Monday, you know, a few days ago now. They've been having a few sessions in the meantime. And basically, the first session back from holiday, it's always that open door session there. It was at Estadio Johan Cruyff. Around 5,000 fans were in attendance there. They're able to see the players. They signed a few shirts and all stuff like that. It's a really, really nice occasion. And the massive news from that open training session was the return of Ronald Araujo. He is now back with the group. He's back with the squad there. He's with his teammates again after, of course, he missed 7 games since that red card away at Chelsea there. That horror night at Stamford Bridge for the whole team. Araujo did need some time in the aftermath of that, away from the squad, away from the team, away from football in many ways. A bit of a mental reset that he was looking for, but he has now made the decision himself to come back to the group. And I think from the club's point of view here, you know, they've got Andreas Christensen right now. Before the break, of course, he picked up that really lengthy injury. You know, he's going to be a long-term absentee right now. And I think the club, they are desperately looking for centre-back options. They're also assessing things in the January transfer window. They are looking for all the options that they can get. So they will welcome here Araujo's return. But I think what's really important here, he must be ready to play. You know, it's important that he's taken the step to return to the squad, to return to the group. That was essential, of course. It's good to see him back. But I think we do have to make sure here he is absolutely mentally ready and locked in and prepared to be out there playing. You know, there was question marks around that Chelsea game. Should he have been out there? Should he not? Let's eliminate all of that. Only play him if he's 100%. And hopefully we can welcome another player back into our squad now. There is also big news regarding Dani Olmo, because he was another player there who returned to the full training session alongside of his teammates. And don't forget, he's missed the last 5 games with a shoulder injury there. And that came after his best spell of the season there. Dani Olmo, remember guys, he was just hitting his stride. He scored 2 very, very good goals against Alaves, and then against Atletico Madrid, right before the injury, he scores a brilliant goal. Very, very important goal. And it was in the process of scoring that goal that he picks up the shoulder injury. You know, so unlucky here with Dani Olmo. And I think what's really important now for him is, now he's back with the squad, now he's set to return, let's just hope that he can pick up where he left off before this injury, because that's been a problem for Dani Olmo. You know, over the past few seasons, he has had several of these very frustrating injury problems, and every time that he gets injured, it takes him a while then to get going again, to hit his best form, to be the kind of player that we know that he can be. So what's important here, ahead of next year, let's see the Dani Olmo of right before he got injured. We want a player there making the difference in the final third, being very calm, very collected on the ball, and scoring goals. You know, he has such quality in front of goal. We need to see that on a regular basis. We need to see consistency from him, and I'm excited to see him back. And then finally, ahead of the Espanyol game, I think we were all looking around thinking, where's Pedri? You know, how's Pedri doing? Is he okay? Did Pedri have a nice Christmas? I think these are all very, very important questions, but don't worry, he's all good. He is back in the squad as well. He missed the game before the break against Villarreal. That was a shame. You know, every game that Pedri misses, it's sad. You know, you want to see him out there. You want to see his football blessing us. But don't worry, he is back now with the squad. He is set to return against Espanyol. And of course, in 2026, we're going to need him again. We are going to be heavily reliant on Pedri's genius, running things there, orchestrating from midfield, and I can't wait. You know, that's the thing I'm most excited about probably in the year to come. More Pedri ball. We get to witness more of him on a weekly basis. You cannot ask for more than that. Welcome back, Pedri, and I'm excited for Saturday's derby encounter. However, guys, we do need to move on now to some of the transfer rumours that we have been hearing in the media over the past few days. Because do not forget, it's not just about January here. We should also be planning as a club for the summer transfer window. All the best clubs, they have a plan. You know, they've got people in place there at the club who are already looking at all the targets, all the possibilities. You need a rock-solid plan to be the very best team in terms of strengthening your squad. So let's start by talking then about Duzan Vlahovic. Now, this is a really interesting rumour because apparently talks have actually taken place between Barca and Vlahovic, who of course currently is playing his football at Juventus. He will become a free agent in the summer transfer window. And I do believe this rumour, quite frankly, because it's not the first time that we've been linked with him. You know, we've heard lots of rumours over the past few seasons with Vlahovic. Barca have sort of been monitoring his situation. I think they've been watching his contract at Juve run down. It doesn't look like things are going to continue there. He's not going to extend at Juventus. And by the way, he's on very, very big wages there right now. He would need to cut those significantly, I believe, in order to join Barca. Now, let me just give you all sides of this right now. Because, okay, on the one hand, he has had quite a few injury problems over the past 2 seasons or so. He's even injured right now. He's missed Juventus's last 6 games with injury. And also, he hasn't been playing particularly well. In terms of goal scoring there, his numbers in recent times, they're not what they were. Now, on the other hand, you have to say, Juventus, they're a bit of a mess. You know, they are not a club right now who've been going through good times. They've been really sort of scrapping their way through the last few years. They too have suffered financially. They really, really have, which is basically why they won't be renewing Vlahovic, in my opinion. But I think what we can't forget with him, you know, the numbers, if you go back a bit further, they were outstanding. It wasn't all that long ago that he was one of the most exciting strikers in Europe there. That is why Juventus paid 70 million euros for him, and he is still only 25 years old. So are Barca looking at this here as an opportunity? If they can bring him in on a free transfer, is there something that you can get out of him? Could he become a great Barca number 9? Now, in my opinion, there's potential there. It's a deal that maybe could work out. It's one that you can understand Barca looking into. You know, we don't really have the funds to be splashing it right now. That's obvious. Or else we wouldn't be looking at this deal. You know, there's a reason why the likes of Man City, the likes of Arsenal, you know, big teams right now, they're not looking at Vlahovic. You know, they're not looking at signing him. Barca are having to go down the list to look at the players that we can actually afford. But what I would be very, very cautious of here is Barca's approach to this number 9 position. You know, if we do move on from Robert Lewandowski this summer, if we do say goodbye to somebody who has been such an unbelievable goal scorer, you know, a legendary number 9 figure, if we say goodbye to him, you've got to do something. And at Barca right now, with Hansi Flick's system, it is built upon goal scoring. It is built upon outscoring your opponent there. Having a player in the box who can deliver the amount of goals that is required to make this system work. This is not a position that Barca can mess around with. This is not a position, the number 9 role, where Barca can say, Deco can say, oh, you know, we're okay. You know, we should be all right. That'll do. No, that is nonsense. You have to prioritise a top quality number 9. Whoever it is, whoever the club think it is, they need to be proven. They need to be elite. That'll do is not Barca. That'll do will not bring us the Champions League. You've got to get that position right. Is Vlahovic the answer? That's something you can let me know down below. Which is very interesting, because then we move on to Joao Cancelo. Now, I know we're about to enter 2026, but we are having to go back a few years right now. Cancelo is on our radar again, because Fabrizio Romano has said Barca has spoken with Al Hilal regarding the signing of Joao Cancelo in the January transfer window, because he is set to leave Saudi Arabia in the coming months. So Barca are very, very interested. They are not alone. Ironically, Juventus are interested too, and also Inter. Those are also both former clubs of Joao Cancelo. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if he was very interested in coming back, quite frankly, because he hasn't stopped talking about Barca. He really did enjoy his time here. I don't think he he ever wanted to leave the club. He's always wanted to come back. So certainly Cancelo, he would love to make it happen. And I've got to say, when he was at the club, I loved him. You know, as a character there, his passion, the way that he played in matches there, he had some incredibly special moments. In the short time that he was here, he really did take to us fans, didn't he? And we took to him in the same way. Now, going forward, he is brilliant. You know, he is an outstanding attacking fullback there. He's a wing-back, really. He could even be a winger in many, many ways. But let me just stress here, he cannot defend. Now, let's just be honest. We have to be very honest here. Remember the game against PSG in the Champions League? That was when he was really tested, and he was absolutely dismantled in that game. Cancelo cannot be trusted to defend in the biggest of matches. However, would he be out there in those situations? Number one, would he have to defend as much in Flick's system? You know, Xavi defended a bit deeper. You know, at times we invited a bit more pressure than we do now. With Flick, you've got that high line. You know, there's not going to be too much low block defending for you to deal with, so maybe the system could help Cancelo. What I would also say as well is, would he just be depth? Because obviously with Cancelo, he can play at right back, he can play at left back, he can be a very, very versatile player there. He might be somebody that comes in just to give us a few extra options in these final months of the season. But I think my question again here would be, you know, coming back to this core issue, is it a step forward to go and sign Cancelo? Is that something that advances us as a club? Or is it a step back? Because let me just say here, we will try to find positives for every single player linked to Barca. You know, and if they come in, we will back them, we will support them, we will get behind every player in a Barca shirt. But let me just say right here, it pains me right now. It pains me that ahead of a second half of the season, in election year, by the way, it's a crucial time for everybody at the club. Laporta, Flick, the team, we want a great season. We're looking to add to our squad. We want to be able to help Flick. And this is all that we can do. This is all that we're able to do. And ironically, can we even register Joao Cancelo? Nobody knows. Nobody could even be sure of that. And you look at what happens in the Premier League. Man City right now, Pep wants a bit more. Pep is looking for that final piece, for the final push this season. They go out and get him, Semenyo, for £65 million. Like that. Like it's easy. You know, what do you want? No problem. We'll get it for you. That is not happening. That's not able to happen at Barca. And I feel for Hansi Flick. There is no doubt in my mind right now that he's looking at his squad thinking, I could do with a bit more there. I could do with an extra option there. You know, if I really want to push for the Champions League, we need something more. We can't deliver that. That is frustrating to me right now. We are not playing the same game as the Premier League clubs. The same money is not available, not just for us to spend. We're not allowed to spend it. La Liga are continually restricting it, and I hate repeating myself. I hate saying this every single transfer window. But when you look at the players that we're linked with, when you look at the options that we have, we are not able to shop now in the same elite categories as our other Champions League contenders. So right now it is tricky. Barca having to sort of pick up the scraps in some ways, see who's out there, see what we can do. And only time will tell us what kind of options, if any, we can add in the coming windows. Because indeed, guys, obviously incomings also depend on outgoings at Barca. You know, removing wages that are on our wage bill, getting any sort of transfer fees, it all helps Barca. Now, on Ter Stegen, it's quite interesting because for me, he still doesn't seem as though he wants to leave. He still doesn't seem as though he's that interested in going in January. But Girona, they really do want him. You know, of course, they're only just across the city in Barcelona. It's still very local for Ter Stegen. And Michel, Girona's coach, he was very, very complimentary of Ter Stegen. He said, I'd love to have him with us. You know, I'd really genuinely love to sign him. He's a top goalkeeper. Every club would want Mark in their team. And I mean, okay, we don't. You know, we don't want him in our team. But I'm glad that you think so. And maybe you could take him off our hands. Because, well, the thing about this deal, though, is Girona want him on loan. You know, Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is kind of undecided right now. Barca are willing to pay, apparently, most of his salary to send him on loan to Girona. We are willing to pay, apparently, 75%, 80% of his wages, and Girona only going to have to pay a tiny, tiny bit. That is how much he's earning. You know, Girona, the tiny bit they will pay is probably their maximum. You know, like I'm talking about here in La Liga, this is all that clubs can do. And I think this is a massive problem. Because look at it right now. Even if Ter Stegen does leave on loan, all that's going to happen is he gets to leave on loan, he'll then go and play, he'll probably play in the World Cup, which is what he wants to do if he leaves. We'll still be paying most of his salary at Girona anyway, and then don't forget, at the end of the season, he just comes back, and then he's got the rest of his contract to just sit there and take the money until 2028, because the problem for Barca is, once that World Cup is done, we have no leverage. That's the only thing that's there right now that might incentivise Ter Stegen going elsewhere. And if all that we can do is get him on a tiny, tiny loan to Girona, I mean, I don't know how this Ter Stegen situation ends. I do not see any other situation right now than him ultimately sitting there for the next 2.5 years picking up huge money. You know, that's the way that it looks. That's the way the board here have almost dug their own hole with it. You know, they gave him the contract. They handed him that kind of deal. And now there is no sign at all that they know how to get out of it. So that is frustrating. And that adds to our problems in the transfer windows. And I know, guys, I know, this is not the way that we want to enter the new year. These are not the kinds of vibes that we're looking for. But ultimately, ahead of January, we have to be realistic. And the names that are coming out, you know, the rumours that are being thrown our way, it doesn't inspire much confidence that we're going to be able to do too much. The clubs still don't seem to be in the position to do that. And the longer this goes on, the more frustrating that it does get. But please let me know down below, what are your thoughts on Vlahovic? You know, would he be a good option on a free transfer as the Barca number 9? Would you put your faith in him? Yes or no? And would you like to see Cancelo back at the club? If in January it is a deal that could happen, would you sign Cancelo and get him back at the club? Please do let me know all of those thoughts down below, guys. Thank you indeed for tuning in here. Looking forward to making more videos for all of you and Barca's return on Saturday. All enjoy the new year and have a good one. But until next time, as always, Vesca, El Barça.